My name is Marty Nance. I work with Central States. I'm going to be introducing to you about the tools needed to install our new Horizon-Loc panels. First we have here our red snips, which we'll be using. Then we will be using our notchers, which is used to notch the panel. We have our 6-inch hand seamer, which we'll be using to tighten up our panel seams. And then we'll be moving on to our hole punch, which we use that to punch out our holes for our pop rivets, and of course a pop rivet gun. Then we have our 18-inch folding tool and our 24-inch folding tool. These are the trims used in our Horizon-Loc panels. First off, I'm going to be showing you the drip edge. We have our cleat, and if you'll notice, the paint is on the inside, so whenever you're looking up your rakes and stuff, you'll see colored. We have a Z closure. This is our valley. If you'll notice that this is a one-piece system, it's not like a lot of our competitors. We will be using no butyl tape on this to stop water penetration. Here we have our sidewall trim. Here we have our rake trim. This is our gambrel trim. If you'll notice that this is also a one-piece system. We're not depending on butyl tape to stop water penetration. And our ridge cap. What I'm going to demonstrate now is the notching of panels. First we'll be notching out the inside of the panel. Then we'll be notching on the nail side of the panel, also on the inside. Then we are to fold the panel. We will be taking our folding tool, sliding it up even with the notches, then grabbing a hold of it and folding the panel. Then after folding the panel, we'll need to cut away only half, and what we'll be doing is cutting this off, where later we'll be folding this to cover up our ends. Now we're going to be taking off all of the nail fin side. Making this cut even with the end of our panel. Now your panel is ready to be installed. We're about to install our first piece of trim, which is the drip edge. We've already pre-installed our 30-pound felt paper. We are now attaching our drip edge to our eave. I'm using a SSR1 pan screw, and I'll be installing these screws about every 12 inches apart. What we're fixing to do now is install the cleat. If you'll notice that the paint is on the inside, and we'll be installing this on your rakes. We'll install the first screw at your bottom, moving up in 12-inch intervals. We're about to install our valley. If you'll notice, this is a one-piece system. We're not dependent on any butyl tape or any type of cleats to stop our leakage. We'll place the valley firmly in the center, where we want to leave enough slack for folding over the drip edge. We'll be using our SSR1 screws again, up close to the top. Installing the one on the other side, making sure your valley's straight, firmly pushing down. Now we're going to be cutting our valley pan so that we can hem it over the drip edge. Using the 6-inch hemming tool, I'm hemming the valley over our drip edge. Now we're going to be installing our first panel. Taking our panel, locking it over the drip edge, sliding it up into place. Then we'll be installing our screws in 12-inch intervals. We are now installing a screw on the edge. Since this is our first panel, we do not want this panel to be caught by wind. We are now going to install our second panel, placing it over the rib of the first panel that we installed, sliding it up on our drip edge. Now we're going to lock this into place. Our first screw at the bottom of the panel. The next panel that we're about to install will be the panel that's going up the valley. We will need to bend this panel at the angle of the valley. Folding this panel just like we do at our regular panels. We'll then place the panel on the roof, snapping it into place, and then sliding up the panel where our open hem slides into our valley hem. Now we're going to install our Z closure, which this will be going up on the rake. On all Z closures, we require a 7/8 butyl tape. When installing this on a rake, our rake trim is 4 inches off of the outer edge. And you want to install the outer edge of our Z closure at 4 inches. If you'll notice, our Z trim is 4 inches from our outer edge of our first panel that we installed. Now we're going to start to install our Z's for our ridge cap. Of course, we'll have butyl tape on our Z's. The Z on the ridge cap will be placed right at 5 inches from your peak to your edge. We have previously installed the cleat and the Z. We're now ready to install the rake trim. We will install it by fastening this to the cleat and snapping it into the Z. We are now installing the open hem part of the rake over the Z's. We're now attaching the rake trim to the Z, which will hold the rake trim in place. What we'll be doing is we'll be installing 3 rivets per 10 foot. One at the start, one in the middle, and one at the splice. Then we'll install the pop rivet in the hole. When we have a pitch change in the roof, we're going to need to install a piece of trim called the gambrel trim. What you will need to do first is install the bottom panels, install your Z's, then you will install your gambrel trim, which has an open hem and will clip over the Z. When installing the upper roof panel, after the gambrel is in place, refer back to when we folded the panels for the drip edge. We do the same thing and just continue on up the roof by snapping the panel into the gambrel trim and attaching. We're about to install our sidewall trim. We have previously installed our Z trim. What we will do is we'll take the open hem part of the trim, hook it over our Z, slide it up into position, nailing it to the sidewall. I have used a 6-inch hand seamers to bend the end of this trim so that we can cap off down at the drip edge. So whenever we slide it up into place, it will close off the end of our trim. Then we'll be using our pop rivets. On a 10-foot piece, we use one at the bottom, one in the middle, and one at our splice joints. We have now installed all of our Z's. We've installed our rake. We are about to install our ridge cap. This consists of snapping our ridge cap over our Z's, and snapping them into place on our ridge cap. Then what we will do is we will pop rivet our ridge cap into place.